Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Let's see who was here first. First, let me do that and that. Perfect. MJB, thank you so much for being first. There are no prizes, but I appreciate it. Elaine Parker, Black Queen, fancy, fancy. Lorna Williams, hi, Lorna. Um, Connie Balmer. Hey, Connie Balmer. Welcome to Royal Sussex. Kim Harris, Mary H. Beasy, 23. That's why I'm busy. Busy like the early morning. Yes, I'm busy like an early morning. Or is it Sunday morning? Okay. Let me see who else is here. Lady Metatrons, Luisa Pena. I love that name, Luisa. Carolyn Teal, Patty Askew, Judy Matasid, and Fancy Fancy. Who else? Eris Wood. Thank you for being here. And Fu Edna Terrain. Okay. Dan Speed 1 and Lydia Washington is here. Okay. Monroe Taylor Movie Classic Channel. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll all the way down to see who was the last one here. Hey, BS Speaks Royally. I thought I saw you there. And Sherry Ware is here. Okay. All right, so this is the last one. Nubby D is the last to enter. Okay, so I went through. Yeah, just like Thomas Markle Jr. I was at my dad's house, and anyway, I was going through, and and there was and my God, there was the Sussex squad and the Royal Sussex. Hey, Lambert Charles, Connie Balmer. Thank you for the super sticker. Thank you so much. Eileen Bennett, hi. Okay. And okay. All right. So let's get into it, shall we? I want you to hear a little sound bite. And thank you to the members of the Sussex Squad Detective Agency that found this little nugget and shared it with us. You're gonna love it. Wait till you hear it. Wait till you hear it. It's Dan Wootton being all Dan Wootton, grand and over the top and full of himself. You know, Dan Wootton. Oh, how did I miss this photo? Okay. All right, let me save that one. I might need that later. That might come in handy when I feel like admonishing members of the royal family. Something that I do quite effortlessly and with pleasure, with undiluted pleasure. Okay, so I saved that one. All right, you ready for the soundbite? See there, I went to go look for that and got distracted by Twitter, which I often do. Okay.
He really does think he lives in his own world with his own rules, doesn't he? Well, I fear the cold, hard facts might be about to catch up. He really does think he lives in his own world with his own rules, doesn't he? Well, I fear the cold, hard facts might be about to catch up. He really does think he lives in his own world with his own rules, doesn't he? Well, I fear the cold, hard facts might be about to catch up. He really does think he lives in his own world with his own rules, doesn't he? Well, I fear the cold, hard facts might be about to catch up. He really does think he lives in his own...
I have listened to that over and over again and again. Here's a few slides from yesterday. He really does think he lives in his own world with his own rules, doesn't he? Well, I think they're about to catch. I one more time, you guys, one more time.
He really does think he lives in his own world with his own rules, doesn't he? Well, I fear the cold, hard facts might be about to catch up. He really does think he lives in his own world with his own rules, doesn't he?
You know, I swear he sounds like Uncle Arthur more and more every day. He's kind of giving me that Uncle Arthur from Bewitched, you know, with that tremble in his voice. He really does think he lives. It's almost as though he's doing an imitation of Katharine Hepburn. He really does think he lives in his own world with his own rules. Ah! Oh boy. He really does think he lives in his own world with his own rules. Talk about being pompous and arrogant and full of oneself. Well, if anybody thinks they live in their own world with their own rules, it's obviously the Dan Wootons of this world who lives in there with their own rules in their own world. Well, what a monumental understatement. It's like it was a premonition of this very moment that we're in right now. So, John Cleese urges mainstream press to investigate allegations against his future GB News colleague, Dan Wootton. Yes, John Cleese urges mainstream press to investigate allegations against the future GB News colleague, Dan Wootton. See, anybody could do that. You just got to kind of shake your head like Captain Hepburn. Just kind of do that little wobble. John Cleese urges mainstream press to investigate allegations against his future GB News colleague, Dan Wootton. Well, see, the thing is, John Cleese is supposed to have his own segment on GB News. It's a good fit because John Cleese, I don't know how liberal he is, but it would attract a broader audience for GB News. I don't think John Cleese would last very long with GB News because he's going to speak his mind. He's not exactly a royalist by anyone's measure. I do believe John Cleese, didn't he turn down one of those honors? So John Cleese also happens to be someone who was definitely there in court during this trial against the mirror, even though he had no stake in the trial, but he is interested in seeing that the tabloid British media is dealt a harsh blow by the courts, if not by the court of public opinion. So he's been burglarized, I think, right? Or is and something to do with phone tapping and who knows what else. But they have been after him for a long time. And he says things are so much different from what it was back in the 1960s when he first became relatively famous. Lydia says, I would love to hear his voice. That is all an act by Dan Wooten. So you think that character that we see on the GB News is just that, a characterization that he has created, not his actual voice. I think he's been trying to anglicize his voice more than probably what it was when he first got to the UK. If you guys don't know, he's actually from New Zealand, and you can hear uh, heavy tones of his New Zealand accent. And because he's trying to suppress his roots, it always comes out very strange. He has a very strange way that he pronounces words, and he struggles. He struggles, but um, that posh tone. Like the last time someone tried to make themselves sound posh so that they could fit in, well, it instead of words, it turned into mumbles. Mumbles is another person who tries to sound posh and very elegant, upper crust, don't you know? And she sounds absolutely dreadful. You hear me? Absolutely dreadful. So I'm afraid Dan will never shake those very humble roots that he comes from. However, through his actions, I guess maybe trying to fit into the establishment, maybe that's why he's turned into such a monster. But either way, there has been some late developments. I caught those about 30 minutes ago, and I'll share those with you. Take a look here. Oh, let's finish this one first. I'm sorry. John Cleese has urged the mainstream press to check out the allegations of inappropriate behavior against Dan Wootton, his future GB News colleague. In a tweet yesterday, the Faulty Towers creator said the media's failure to investigate the story will be final proof of their complete corruption. Cleese will soon start hosting a GB News show, which has previously joked will be for the much neglected demographic of viewers who are completely out of touch. If they, the mainstream press, give the Boris phone treatment, is a final proof of their complete corruption, added Cleese on Twitter as he retweeted an account promoting the investigation into Wootton. So I'm guessing that must have been the byline investigate that he retweeted. But yeah, and you know, I I give him points for that, even though he will be working at GB News. John Cleese seems to have a great deal of integrity. Now, I have not followed him closely for years, so I don't have a full account of everything to do with John Cleese. But from what I've seen of him recently, it seems as though with his age, he is rather fearless. And I would imagine when he was younger, he was still rather fearless. Otherwise, he couldn't have put on a show like Monty Python without actually being willing to take risk and saying and acting in a way that you feel um, is right. So we'll see how it goes. But it would be interesting if they clashed in any way at GB News. Now, I don't know what the language of the contracts are. You know, in some places you just can't go after your coworkers, but let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Susie Q says Dan Wooten will be getting his comeuppance. I hope so. And the sooner the better. The sooner the better. Lady Metatron says John Cleese is too old to play those games. Yeah, he's kind of like plain talking. He doesn't put on any airs or anything like that, and I love that about him. And he's at that age where you say it. You know, you don't have a lot of time to waste, and you don't suffer fools lightly. You just say what's on your mind. So um, let's hope that's the case. So here it says UK News hires lawyers to look at claims against former Sun columnist Dan Wooten, accused of offering Sun colleagues tens of thousands of pounds for sexual material. The Guardian has spoken to 7 current and former Sun employees who say they received emails from Martin Branning. All claim they were offered large sums of money in return for pictures. Dan Wooten's ex boyfriend has publicly linked him to the pseudonym. So when this news came out, and I do mean recently came out as of about an hour ago, I saw it about 30 minutes ago. Take a look at that. Alex, the one who has accused Dan Wooten of things, says, "What's your next move?" at Daily Mail. UK. What's your next move? And then Alan Rusbridger, he says the plot thickens. So that was a couple of tweets. Actually, they retweeted the story from the Guardian saying that, well, the Sun has hired newspapers. The Sun feels as though they need to, I'm not newspapers, lawyers. The Sun feels as though they need to have lawyers look into this, which means, of course, they are not going to do their own investigation. They want someone from the outside to look into this because the gravity of the situation is becoming so clear that this is pretty big and is not going to go away as easily as they probably hoped it would. So, in order to keep themselves out of any future trouble, the best thing to do is to have a third party come in and investigate. So that's what they're doing. So that way, that removes them from any improprieties associated with this case. Elaine Parker, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for watching Royal Sussex. And happy Wednesday to you. Happy Wednesday to you. Okay. Really? All right. Glad to know that. All right. And Alicia W., thank you for the super chat. Says here he's just crying because he got caught. Amen to that. That he's struggling to hold back tears. That's the only thing that usually bothers someone like a Dan Wootton is when they get caught. Before that happened, because of that acute narcissism that seems to fuel his every move, that seems to impair his judgment, he was okay with it. He was okay with all of those things. He was glad that people were afraid of him. As a matter of fact, he's probably still hoping that people are too afraid to act against him. But the thing is, once it becomes increasingly mainstream, then the powers that be, in this case, the Sun, they have no choice but to act. And the best way to do it is to bring an outside party, some attorneys, to investigate these claims to make sure that everything that they could do within their power to find the truth and to decide whether or not they still want to work with him. And the same for GB News. Eventually, GB News, well, let's see, Rupert Murdoch, he owns GB News, right? And he owns the Sun. So isn't it one and the same? So eventually they are going to have to decide whether he is still going to write for their papers or if he's even going to still work at the GB News. But I don't think that that's going to last for long. There's going to be people crying to have him removed from the airwaves. So thank you again, Licia, for the super chat. Okay, but yeah, someone like that doesn't deserve to be on television. Monster Wooten certainly got his karma. Question is, why is that TV station airing an accuser? This does not argue well for young people. Yeah, it, uh, it's not a good look. It really is not a good look. So they really need to um they need to just, until further notice, just, clip his wings. That's what they need to do. They need to clip his wings until further notice. So uh, let's go to the next one. So the Sun parent company has hired external lawyers to help investigate very serious allegations regarding Dan Wooten's time at the tabloid. The Guardian has been told Wooten is facing allegations he used a pseudonym to secretly offer current and former Sun colleagues tens of thousands of pounds in return for sexual material. Rupert Murdoch's News UK asked staff to contact his most senior lawyer if they have any information regarding the claims. They promised that all information would be treated in confidence. You know, seeing that makes me think about what Petal was saying, what was it, yesterday? About how someone went to the police and everything that they claimed seemed to make it back to the accused. Well, anyway, offered counseling services to anyone affected and asked employees not to talk to journalists while inquiries were underway. Employees were told the matter reported are obviously very serious and include allegations that contain actions of Mr. Wootton's may have affected some members of the staff at the Sun. Yeah, members of the staff, people in the entertainment field, maybe a rogue politician somewhere. It seems as though that pseudonym, if this alleged action took place, that pseudonym was used to lure people into a situation where, according to these allegations, those individuals could have been blackmailed. So, if that is true, if there's any merit to this, then that means that he'll be in a lot of trouble. He'll be in a lot of trouble. But I don't hold my breath because uh, he's got some very powerful people that will likely try to protect him. Um, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But I'm hoping that at the very least, this will end his career in the tabloid press, right? And that he might have to just, get his own like blog or whatever in the future. And the best thing we could all hope for is that he gets a ticket to the hotel. Ticket to the Crossbar Hotel. Um, Let me see here. Okay. All right. Okay, let me go to the next one here. And Pauline Bergio, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for watching Royal Sussex. Oh my goodness, I'm so far behind with the comments. Let me keep scrolling here. And I'm going to Democracy Unlocked. Breaking news. News UK brings in senior lawyers to investigate claims that Wootton bribed staff for sexual images and acts. News UK called the allegations concerning and urged staff to come forward and assist. So, just like yesterday, or was it the day before yesterday, when when this story had gone mainstream, now all of a sudden you see one after the other, people are reporting that lawyers from News UK are being brought in to investigate, that they have brought in lawyers to investigate. It is understood that News UK have hired external counsel to assist in the investigation, in which they told The Guardian were very serious allegations. So it's not in house lawyers. These are some people that are being brought in from the outside. That is fantastic. Uh, okay. And let me go here. Oh, Marjorie, you said To give some credence to their gossip, they are saying Harry is going to Africa alone to do the documentary. Didn't Harry want what is that? Didn't Harry go to Africa with U.S. Oh, he went with senators, right? And you're saying the other day, but that was some time ago, right? Uh, where he went over there. But thank you for your comment. Anfu says, Baron, we have to keep on nagging at this repulsive monster to let him know how Megan feels with the torturing of her for 7 years. And you know what? I'm going to get to that too. Alicia says Murdoch is about to throw him under the bus. And you know what I say? Reverse and repeat. You know how they say rinse and repeat? Reverse and repeat. Just keep throwing them under the bus. Thank you so much for the super chat. Oh, Shelly, I did not see you there. Now I swiped so fast. I was scrolling so fast. I've just lost you again. Oh, there you go. Hey, squatties. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for being here, Shelly. Um, okay, let me continue here. Little Max says when you hire lawyers to keep everything confidential, is if they really wanted the truth, they would hire private investigators. Well, but wouldn't the lawyers do that? Wouldn't the lawyers do that? Because it's one thing to hire private investigators, but that means that, okay, if you hire a private investigator, if I remember from like when the thing with Trump and what's her name, the dancer movie person, when you hire an investigator, they have what they call catch and kill. So it's better to bring in outside representation and let them do that, because if they hired someone in house, well, that gives them an opportunity to find anyone who potentially has a story or a complaint, and then they could pay that person. And so if you're not familiar with catch and kill, let me tell you how it works. So I have a complaint that let's say a president of the United States grabbed my woohoo, right? And I sell the story to a tabloid, and the tabloid has what do you call it? They have all rights. They have bought all the rights to my story, right? So I can't tell that story to anybody else without the fear of being sued and losing everything I have. That's called catch and kill. And so what happened with that president, who is now a former president, they bought her story and they literally put it in a vault and left it there. And then eventually, I believe what they had was destroyed. And they did that time and time again so that that person can run for president without any new stories coming out. And so if they were to hire in-house, if they were to hire investigators, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that, because that would give them the opportunity to make the story go away, at least for the people who have complaints. And then you couldn't. Now, if you were subpoenaed, then you would have to tell your account. But if your story is not in a newspaper, chances are the police could just ignore you and say, oh, there's no merit to it. And then the story goes away. That's what makes it so effective. That's why they call it catch and kill, because you catch the person before they can tell anybody else. And then you literally just kill the story by getting exclusive rights to it, and they can't tell it to anyone else. And that way, if it's not in the media, and especially the mainstream media, well, then there's no external pressure on the police department to pursue the case. There's no pressure for a prosecutor to pursue the case because there's no public outcry because you weren't allowed to tell the story. That is, parts of that is legal, although other parts of it is not, or at least if it's not illegal, it's completely immoral, but it works. And that's why they do it. So that's how these cases disappear. Like, for instance, the host of This Morning, um, the only person who could have for sure have gotten him in trouble was the one we haven't heard from because he's not even on social media anymore. So now he's not around to say how old he was, when and where it started. The only side of the story that we're hearing comes from that morning show host. And essentially, the case was DOA, dead on arrival. So that's what I think. I hope that made sense. All right. So, all right, let me scroll here. Oh, Black Queen says Baron is woo woo woo. Is woo woo the sound Dan Rodden makes? Okay. I'm sorry, when he's in the vile act of voyeurism and pegging, asking for a friend. No sooner than I let that out of my mouth did I start to think, okay, that's going to come back to haunt me. But I can't be sure, Black Queen. I'm not sure anybody knows for sure, except for those who have been directly affected by this monster, but allegedly, of course. But yeah, if I hear anything, if I hear anything, I will let you know. Oh man. Uh, you know what? I don't have a second screen open, so if anybody has any milestones for their membership, thank you in advance. But I don't have another screen open right now. Okay. Let me. So it says here, Lily Allen, what a mess, but finally exposed. Actually, he didn't say that. I mean, she didn't say that. He said that. So if you take a look there, this is a very, very disturbing scene that involved Lily Allen. So whilst I'm able to take responsibility for my own actions, I can hand on hard say that the big part of the reason I would get myself into these states was because of the relentless bullying and constant surveillance and scrutiny this man had me under for no reason. Anyway, karma's a B word, and I wouldn't be happier at this time in my life, absolutely thriving. So I'm sorry, I couldn't be happier. So now there are a lot of people, believe it or not, there are a lot of people that are actively defending him. And quite a few of them on social media are derangers. I've seen it myself. They are questioning everything about this. So one of the derangers actually um, took the front page image of the sun that you see there and they enlarged it so you can see that it wasn't actually Dan Wootton that wrote this particular article, but this is the article that has the image that shows Lily Allen in a state of disgrace. And so this is why she, you know, or what should I say? This is one of the reasons why she has a celebratory mood today is because no, he didn't write that article, but take a look there. What a mess, but finally exposed. He retweeted it, or should I say, he tweeted it and had a nasty comment to say about it when it's none of his business. As a matter of fact, why was it anybody at the Sun? Why was anybody at the Sun in such a mindset that they needed to expose her for anything? Why did they do this to anyone? And while at the same time that they are exposing people in some of the most troubling moments of their lives, and by doing that, that only fuels the reckless behavior that has gotten them in trouble in the first place. As Denise Welch said, one of the reasons, and of course, she took total responsibility for her situation, but she said one of the reasons why she needed to stay intoxicated or inebriated or high for that matter, whatever her choice of stimulants were, was because of the constant surveillance. Because of the constant surveillance. And we need only consider the state that Harry was in, paranoid, friendless at some points. He couldn't even have a girlfriend because of the constant surveillance. So if Lily Allen says, whilst I'm able to take responsibility for my own actions, I can hand on heart say that a big part of the reason I would get myself into these states was because of the relentless bullying and constant surveillance and scrutiny. And he just happens to be one of the people that constantly fueled all of these stories with investigative reporting and with private detectives, possibly. I don't know that for sure if that was one of his means of information gathering. But if not him, then at least the papers that he's written for. And if that is the case, if there is any truth to that, is interesting how that seems to be part of the theme for people that find themselves in the paper is as though they do everything they can to make you fearful, to make you afraid for your life, afraid for people you love, afraid to have a conversation or make a friend or even pick up your phone or walk out of your house. So if you were inclined to some type of substance abuse, all of that could only be made worse because of that type of journalism. And that's why I think about the words that he said, where I've changed and I'm a better person today. Are you really? Are you really? Because it seems like just yesterday you were dogging people for no reason, Dan Wootton. How have you changed? How have you really changed? Uh, Denise Dublin, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you, as always, for watching Royal Sussex. And a happy Wednesday to you. Thank you so much for being here. Okay. Cookies and Cream says the Unroyals and their racist thugs continuously attack the Sussexes and use them as distraction. The Unroyals alliance with Danita Wutina. Cookies and Cream, you have been listening to Royal Sussex too much. And Murdoch should be put all over social media to let it trend. Thank you so much, Cookies and Cream. I hope I am not having a bad influence on people, but this sounds like something I would have said. Uh, Lorna Williams says that's why the National Enquirer was sold, because the Catch and Kill, American Media, the parent company that changed its name to 360 Media, which owns Radar Online, another trash gossip rag. Yes, as a matter of fact, I had something to say about that coming up too. But yeah, the Catch and Kill, this is why some of these stories don't get much traction. It's not so much that they have stopped the person with the main complaint. the real trouble comes in is because some of the other potential victims, or should I say, the other victims that have a potential damaging story, they are somehow removed from the equation because they have been paid off. And even though they are eager to tell their story, once the catch and kill kicks in, it's kind of hard to get noticed. And so it's just like really having someone's hand cupped over your mouth. You can try to shout all you want to, but nobody's going to hear you. Nobody's going to hear you. And that is what's so troubling about it, is that it actually prevents the prosecutors from getting a hold of it, or it actually removes any pressure to prosecute them. And sadly, it seems as though it's legal to do that. I don't know what the laws are like over in the UK, but over here it works like a charm, and it's been done time and time again. Okay, so Lily Allen praises Meghan Markle for escaping UK. They will stop at nothing to try and destroy her. That seems to have come out back in February of 2021. Now, if you throw your eyes to the other side of this slide, you can see here Dan Wootton, GB News, host admits era of judgment. Broadcaster Dan Wootton has admitted making errors of judgment in the past, but denied any criminality as he responded to claims made against him. Reports have included claims he offered media colleagues thousands of pounds for illicit material of themselves. I like the way they changed the wording of that for just about every story. Um, Illicit, incriminating, blackmailable, whatever they want to call it. It was something that was supposed to allow enough coercion that they can either hurt themselves or other people. So, admitting to errors in the past, errors of judgment, but how far back are we going to go? Or how far back will he admit? Will it have this week or 2 months ago or a year ago? I say right up until the last minute, and likely tomorrow, there is going to be some element of coercion used for these stories. It's not that people are just always so eager to get the truth out there, but when you're afraid to keep silent about something because you don't want to hurt someone, enters someone like a Dan Wootton who has ways of making you talk. Like some of those old war movies. You know how when they're torturing someone and they say, we have ways of making you talk. And then they slap you real hard with that leather glove. Well, I tell you enough, taste of cowhide across my face, and I'm going to sing like Aretha Franklin. So I don't know how many people wouldn't. And that's the trouble is, in some respects, not only do you run the risk of having your own life ruined, but these things have destroyed entire families. And we know that. People have deleted themselves because of these types of stories that have gotten out. It's almost as though the whole of the tabloid media seems to have a certain personality trait where they are willing to risk everything and anything for of someone else's, of course, their life or their livelihood, just so that they can tell the story, just so that they can get the jumps on the competition. Let's see. Barron, was this back during the hacking scandal? You mean with Lily Allen, or I'm not sure which part you're referring to. Let me see. Lady Metatron says, I don't know which is worse. These publications can get away with this, or people of the UK actually believe what these papers write. Well, first and foremost, it is the people gathering the news or telling the lies or feeding the misinformation, and then of course that trickles down to the people that actually consume this stuff, and even worse, share it with other people. And I guess the absolute worst part about it is that they would act violently toward a person who has been a victim of this nasty tabloid reports. Um, yeah, I think that I don't know which is actually worse, but I would well, I'm going to just say the uh, the the responsibility for the most part, I believe, is the people who print or broadcast. Those are the ones that are most responsible, and then I guess you could work your way out. Okay, so Dr. Shola, love Dr. Shola. Dr. Shola says, I don't believe you, Dan Wooten. That monologue was nothing but verbal diarrhea. Dan Wooten, an expert in smearing, cries smear campaign, and the entire nation goes, well, now, the part that stuck out for me was when Dan Wooten said, Dark forces trying to take us out because GB News is the biggest threat to the establishment. The dark forces, let's stick with that one right there. The dark forces that are trying to take us out. Um, didn't someone else say something about the dark forces? Didn't someone say that the reason why we have to leave the United Kingdom is because of the dark forces? Harry said that. Harry said the dark forces. And so, taking a page out of Harry's real life experience, Dan Wooten decides to use dark forces as an explanation. And of course, because he himself is one of the people that I would associate most with dark forces, he can't make it about himself whole and complete. He has to say, um, take us out as though it involves everybody at GB News. So he brought other people into it. He said the dark force is trying to take us out. And then he named Calvin and his religious points of views and some other uh, garbage he was talking. And, oh, I'm sorry, rubbish. All right. Uh, some of the other rubbish that he was talking about, that he was speaking. Okay, so that's one thing. And then the other part of the dark forces and such was, well, not the other part of that, but the other thing that he said that stuck out was when he said that his current partner was there, and that it bothered him to see the toll that it has taken on his family and friends, the mental toll, the anguish, if you will, that all of this conspiracy to destroy Dan Wooten, not GB News, Dan Wooten, but he's making it as though it's a problem for GB News. Now, he is the highest rated person on the GB News, but that's besides the point. It's not about GB News. It's about you, Dan Wooten, not GB News. So he's bothered because of the dark forces, and he's troubled and anguished because of the way this has had an effect on the mental, the psyche, the mental health and the psyche of his friends and family and his partner that has taught him what real love is. It was all so dramatic. So, like Dr. Shola said, this that monologue was nothing but verbal diarrhea, and it was. spewing projectile diarrhea, splashing against the walls, splashing literally a geyser of waste piled high up in the sky, verbal diarrhea. I'm sorry, nobody's eating dinner right now, are we? 10 says, watch with undiluted pleasure as one of Caton Wheel's cheerleaders go down. Who's next? I love it. Thank you so much for the super chat, 10. And thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. But yeah, that's about the size of it, I think, is that this bile that came out of his mouth yesterday, this total waste of time for everyone involved, including his family and friends and this fictitious lover, whatever the case may be, his partner. It's a waste of time. I think we all know the real Dan Wootton, and the sooner it's exposed, the better off we'll be. Shelley says, this is why Dan Wootton is sweating. There's no statute of limitations for serious sexual offenses. Charges can be brought at any time, regardless of how long ago the alleged offense took place. Thank you for that, Shelley. You got a bell. Thank you so much for that. Claire Kane is in the house. Hey, little Mac, Susie Q, Ingrid Sowers. Thank you for being here, Claire Kane. Okay. Dan Wooten. Let's see. Dan Wooten doesn't have any friends except the ones he allegedly blackmailed into being his friends. Oh. What's that? We are the dark forces. Is he on? Oh, is he talking about us? You saying? Diane Anderson says Dan Woo Woo is now Dan Wawa, crying like a baby. Now he stands in the naughty corner with that shame look on his face and not the confidence, loud voice. Yeah, he's not as energetic. Seems as though he went on the air Monday, and by Tuesday he seemed rather shaky. You know, Monday he came in there business as usual, and then Tuesday with that monologue. Well, like I said, I'm starting to hear a little Catherine Hepburn. He got that little tremble like Catherine Hepburn. Spencer. Yes, it's almost like I'm expecting him to call Spencer Tracy Spencer. Oh man. Okay. Now I just want to say, or should I say, I want to speak to what Dan Wooten said about the trauma, the mental trauma that his family and his friends and his partner is suffering. And I'm just going to use um, the rock of the Sussex household, um, Doria. No one in all of tabloid news, none of them were concerned what type of impact their stories, their lies, their bullying, none of them, including Dan Wooten, who gave the Sussexes 10 days to tell the world or else, none of them were the least bit concerned about how this affected Doria Ragland. Not one of them. Nobody in all of the tabloid media, and if you ask me, not enough people in the American news media, tabloid or otherwise, none of them cared about Doria. Doria, 5,000 miles away from her daughter, was not given any consideration. None. It did not matter. And every time Doria did anything publicly with Harry and Meghan, that was all they talked about. That was all they talked about. They said everything but how dare she. So I'm just going to say it, and I'm sure I speak for most squatties. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I really don't. That it causes anguish for his family, for his friends, for his partner, if there is truly one, I really don't care. I pray that um well, I won't say what I'm praying about, but I hope that whatever it is that they neglected to consider for Doria, I hope it transfers to everyone, including him, tenfold. None of them cared. Not about the squatties, not about the squatties. Her mother, her mother, alone in California, 5,000 miles away. Her mother on an award night, right there with her. It did not matter. There was nothing too harsh or too painful, nothing that lacked any imagination when it came to going after Meghan. Nothing. And even with the grandkids, even with her grandkids in this world, they still do not care about her. They don't care about those kids. They don't care about anybody. It's the same dark forces. It's the same dark forces that targeted Princess Diana. That's the dark forces I want to talk about, not the ones that's after Dan Wootton, if they exist. I'm talking about the ones that helped to remove Princess Diana from this world. And just like with Harry and Meghan, it did not matter who she helped, what endless possibilities of charity and philanthropy, whatever public service, universal service that Diana had up her sleeves, it did not matter because she was not a human being to them. Harry, Meghan, the children, Doria, they are not real people. They are like a chew toy for a pet at the pet store. That's it. They can just randomly pick it up, gnaw at it, and discard it whenever they choose. That's how they see them. They're not people. They're payments. They're mortgage payments, car payments, credit card payments. That's what they are. They keep news corporations afloat. Those are the dark forces. So I don't care about Dan Wootton. I care about as much as Dan Wootton cared about Carolyn Flack. That's how much I care. And if I wake up tomorrow and something so terrible has changed for him, I still won't care. I just can't. I don't like monsters. Let's see, all of the SOBs are just a bunch of sociopaths and psychopaths and narcissists, just disgusting. And it's so true. It is so true. That's why I said, what kind of persons, what kind of people are they? I mean, just a collection of bullies armed to their chins with endless ways to destroy people. What for? Entertainment. Entertainment. It entertains them. It entertains their readers and listeners and viewers. is for entertainment. And that William and Kate and Charles, and of course, the wicked witch of the devil, Camilla, that they use those people to brief against other people, to lie about other people, in these constant plots to try to make themselves relevant, to destroy people. I don't care about them either. I really don't. I really, really don't. I hope all of them get what they deserve. I hope they get what they deserve. Not what they want, but what they deserve. Because they have unleashed the devil on people. And they do it with ease, with some self righteous justification. It is so easy for them to do the things that they do. There's some very heartless individuals. Harry's too good of a person to say it, so I'll say it. They're heartless, evil people, and they don't care who they hurt. That's why there's no outpouring of affection for them, because there's no there. Diana took what she had to offer the world and tried to make the world a better place. And because people gravitated to her, they didn't think she deserved a place in this world. That's why she's not here. It's because she was too good for this world, at least the world that they lived in. They felt like she was too good for their world. So they had to somehow remove her. Those same dark forces. And William, with firsthand knowledge of what those people are capable of. And William has actually leaned upon them to try to make himself popular, and loved and revered, respected. He tried to use them to be Harry. He tried to use them to be Harry because he wants to be Harry so bad. It seems like he doesn't care if it kills someone for him to be Harry. If they got to go, they got to go. Because when you unleash that kind of torment upon a person, you really couldn't care whether they're alive or not. You couldn't possibly care. Knowing what Harry has gone through to try to salvage his mental health, and you use these people to try to destroy him, his own brother, use these people to try to destroy him. Andrea Allen, thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you for watching Royal Sussex, and thank you so much for being a member of Royal Sussex. Okay, let me see what I got. Here, broadcaster Dan Wootton has admitted making errors of judgment in the past, but denied any criminality as he responded to claims made against him. Errors of judgment. Well, I think we covered that one already. And right here, in order to distract from all of this, look at what the tabloid media has been up to. Look at that. Harry and Meghan asked to return on Air Force One with Biden and after Queen's funeral, but were, let me make that bigger, denied, and Jill didn't attend Invictus Games to avoid upsetting the royals. So are Sussex's attempts to become U.S. political players faltering? Talk about out of the flipping blue. Talk about out of the blue. This made up. If you were going to talk about this, wouldn't it have made sense to bring this up? Oh, I don't know. Back in September when the Queen died? Wouldn't that have been the time to mention that the Sussexes were hoping to hitch a ride on Air Force One? Now, we all know that that did not happen, but never let the truth get in the way of a trashy story. We all know that did not happen, but never let the truth, never allow the truth to get in the way of a salacious story. So this is this is an attempt by the tabloid media yes, this is today. This is today. And it is the top story for both UK and American and God knows where else. This is the top story. No spare room. Get it? No spare room. Um, what makes this so ridiculous is that Harry, Harry is a royalist. Harry believes in monarchy. But let me just say this. I believe that Harry believes in the potential of the monarchy. He believes in the platform as a means to improve the lot in life for other people. I know that sounds corny, but I believe that that's what Harry hopes for. Okay? Harry knows the power of that platform. Harry has done more with the platform in his life than his brother has. He's done more with that platform in his life than most of the royals have. So he knows. He's seen his father do some amazing things with that platform. And I'm only talking about, the positive things, not the the trashier stuff. I mean, his father used that platform to destroy his mother, but that's just my opinion. So there's no way in the world that Harry would put himself or the royal family in a predicament like that. No way whatsoever. Also, that Jill Biden did not go to the Invictus Games. Jill Biden's place is with her husband. When Jill Biden went to the Invictus Games before, she was not first lady, right? It was a very different time. But her husband is the president of the United States. Jill Biden has family that she has to tend to whilst being the first lady of the United States. It's a lot of responsibility. Jill Biden has been in under medical care recently. We don't see a lot of Jill Biden. We've seen more of her when she was the first lady. I'm sorry, when she was the second lady than as the first lady. Now, I don't know why. I have my suspicions that I'll keep to myself. But Jill Biden is not the most visible first lady. She does a lot, but she's not as active as some. And for whatever reason, she's just not as available. That being the case, and by the way, Jill Biden is the first lady that actually kept her job, as well as when she was the vice president's wife, she still worked as a teacher, teaching English to immigrants. So she still has a career. So she didn't go to the Invictus Games. So what? Anyway, that's the two big things. Oh, Jill Biden didn't go to the Invictus Games, and they were denied a trip on Air Force One. Harry would not do something like that. He has a sense of duty. And even though I just said his family is some of the nastiest people that have ever drawn a breath, he would not do something like that. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. This is all a distraction for the sake of that monster of GB News. That's it. Rahini says, "Oh, they want to get nasty, squaddies. It's time for us to become super bad." Sandra Gonzalez says, "Why didn't this article come out 10 months ago? Please, all lies." Yeah, it's a distraction. It's a distraction. And they're using the big blaring headline to try to draw the conversation away from Dan Wootton. V. Bram says the tabloids are so desperate to distract attention away from Dan Wootton, they are dragging up made up story for almost a year ago. Yeah, yeah. Think the Royals would love Meghan and Harry to come over here and give them a really, really hard time. Yeah. Um, let's see here. Thank you for your comment. I believe since then, President Biden has shown the Tory government and the Tory press how he feels. Fatima, you get a bell for that. Thank you. Thank you. Whatever they're thinking, Biden has a strong sense of duty as well. Now, if Biden was petty, like the last president, if he was petty, he would have the Sussexes over for barbecue dinners and such if he wanted to be petty. But the Democrats usually maintain a certain level of decorum when they're in the White House. Okay? They like to maintain, for lack of a better word, certain protocols, right? Period. Whereas the last rogue Republican president we had tried to destroy every convention as we know it where the presidency is concerned, including running an election campaign out of the White House, hosting dinners at the White House. No other president, Republican or otherwise, used the White House like that. And yet, the last Republican president made a mockery out of his position and out of the very sacred White House. People revere the presidency, not necessarily the president, but the presidency. People have a strong respect for the White House. It was said that Ronald Reagan never entered the Oval Office without wearing a jacket. Now, I don't know how true that is, but that's what I heard, that he didn't feel right being in there unless he was, dressed as the president of the United States. So, that being said, Biden has too much respect for his position to do something shady like saying, "Oh, come on, hop a ride on Air Force One so I can show those Tories how I feel." And I believe that Harry has too strong a sense of duty to even accept something like that if it was offered. I just don't believe it. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Kim Coates says Baron Spineless William, rather than expose the media, took a $1 million dollar payoff. What a contrast to Harry's efforts after dishonoring his mother. How can he ever be an effective leader or king? I asked that same question, Kim Coates. He has thrown his mother under the bus. He has suppressed her words in order to humor the tabloid media, right? And I still say he tried to blame BBC instead of acknowledging the fact that the tabloids is the reason his mother's not alive. He'd rather blame the BBC and Martin Bashir than to accept the fact or admit to. But like I said, he never wrote that speech in the first place. They told him to go out there and say it. And because he's about as stupid as the day is long, and I do mean it though, I do mean it. I say it to the the Duke of what was that? Cambridge. I would say it to the Prince of Wales, and I'll say it to King William. Just as stupid as the day is, that is one stupid individual. Stupid. Only somebody really stupid would read a speech like that about their mother. Stupid. Dumb. Stupid. Did I tell y'all that I thought he was stupid? This is one of the dumbest, stupidest people that I've ever laid eyes upon. Just as smug and stupid and ridiculous. Dumb, stupid, smug. Okay, I said enough. All right, so I had to get that out of my system. I'm sorry, but that's just one of the stupidest people. Just stupid. You take a speech that somebody hands you to try to smear the BBC and Martin Bashir while simultaneously, um, I guess, gagging the words of someone who has lost their life rather, because of this uh, group of misfits called the tabloid media, and you try to blame one of the most respected media companies in the world, the BBC, just so that you could help give them cover for all the stuff that they've done. That's stupid. So Luxbox says, let's see here. We want to talk about Dan Wootton. Hey, Daily Mail, people are not going to fall for this distraction garbage. You have a, yeah, I guess I can say that, predator on your payroll, and we want justice. Hashtag this, hashtag that. So, um, yeah, I think everybody sees it for what it is. Now, rumors swirl, there's trouble. And you know what? Let me go back to this. You know what else this does? By them um, printing or writing this story about no room for the spare, this is to rally support. This ensures that the right wing minded people will help rally to support GB News, right? That's what it's for. This is just to make sure that they keep enough anger and hostility against the Sussexes to help uplift the support for GB News and for Dan Wootton. That's what it's for. So it's not really that they're trying to convince people as much as they're trying to make people angry. That is why they decided to run with this story. Um, well, one of the things that got me was when I saw this story, when I saw this no spare room, I I was just like, now wait a minute. I was like, now wait a cotton picking minute. So right here, rumors swirl. There's trouble in paradise for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Here's another distraction. And Nacho Figueras says BS. Nacho just said BS, and that was the BS heard round the world. It rang out from every hill and every mountaintop. And suddenly the tweet from page 6 disappeared. It disappeared. No sooner than they tweeted it than all of a sudden it disappeared. You got to have friends. And Nacho had seen enough, and he just said BS. So it's always good to have friends, right? But more so than that, Nacho is his brother. That is his brother. I believe Harry and Meghan. I said it before and I'll say it again. I believe the Sussexes. And so I'm not going to be distracted by some. Oh, sorry about that. That time I was doing it because of a crumb, not any special effects. Um, I believe it because I believe the Sussexes, that is, because I know they're telling the truth. I know they're telling the truth. And even though um, this attempt to smear them would have brought out the worst in a lot of people because they operate with faith, because they're sure of who they are, and because of their love for each other, I feel as though they rarely allow themselves to be distracted by that nonsense. So I am going to do as I've always done. And so, as I say so often, trust Harry and Meghan. Follow their lead. Follow their lead. Just trust them. Right? Okay. So let me see here. Okay. Oh, Manello. Thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you for being a member of Royal Sussex. Now, did you guys see this? So I'm watching TV this evening. This is from a squatty, by the way. And what do I see? Where have I seen this beautiful gold dress? Uh, how do you say her name? Is it oh, I forgot how to pronounce it. Arnold. I thought it was Tisha Arnold. Oh well, is that spelled right? Okay, I don't know. Why am I having trouble with that? I thought it was Tisha Arnold. But anyway, take a look at that gold dress. We all know we've seen it before. We saw it, of course, on award night, the Ms. Award. Is it Takina Arnold? Tachita. Okay, thank you. Not sure I'm saying it right, but thank you. Tashina. Tashina. Okay, Tashina Arnold. Thank you so much, Church Nelly. Thank you. All right. And so, right here, Daily Express fans rage at Daniel Craig and Rachel Weisz for snubbing Kate at Wimbledon. Did you guys hear about this? They were crucified by the sycophants, the royal fans, because they didn't get out of their seats, because they didn't stand to attention. They were supposed to hop up on both feet and I guess greet her as though she was a judge walking into a court of law. They were supposed to rise to attention because Princess Mumbles showed up. And to be fair, I'm pretty sure that I speak for both um, Daniel Craig and Rachel Weisz when I say I'm sure they still don't know what she wanted. They probably didn't understand what she said. I mean, when somebody just appears out of the blue, speaking that very strange language called Kate, I wouldn't have. I would have probably forgot to stand up too, or maybe they just didn't want to. Maybe they're not into that. Maybe they don't want to be bothered with all that. You know, if it was the queen, I mean the real queen, if it was the queen, then probably they would have stood up. but it's just Kate. She's not a real royal. She's just a social climber. So they didn't feel like standing up. So what? Why are you getting on their case? Not everybody is into that, is what I'm trying to say. Not everybody is into that. So, of course, as always, Royal Sussex has reached out to Kensington Palace for a response, and this is what we heard.
Obviously, it'd be. I would love to have met her, and she's obviously she's an inspirational woman to look up to. Obviously, to this day, and going forward and things. It is. It's a wonderful family. The members who I've met have achieved a lot, and very inspirational. So yeah, I do.
You do what, girl? What you do? What you do, girl? Huh? What you do? Yeah, you do what? Now, we also reached out to Daniel Craig, and who else we reach out? We reach out to a lot of people, you know that. Well, we reached out to Daniel Craig, and we reached out to Rachel Weisz for a response, and this was their response.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So yes, Rachel Weisz and Daniel Craig was able to respond with, you know,
ain't nobody got time for that.
So that was it. Daniel Craig and Rachel Weisz responded by saying,
ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. So they didn't have time for it.
Nobody got time for that.
Yeah, so nobody had time for it. Now, surely you stand to greet the future queen, so why did Daniel Craig stay lounging in royal box with his shades on when Kate approached? It's time to learn some manners, Mr. Bond. It's a subtle question of etiquette. When meeting the Princess of Wales, just how should royals behave? Hollywood royalty, that is, now Daily Mail diary editor Richard Eden has made his views known. Well, let me tell you something. When somebody comes walking up on you with a face like this, I don't know if I would. It's just like if you're having a strong drink. Sometimes you want to neutralize it a little bit by adding some ice to it and maybe a little splash of seltzer. Well, if Kate walks up on you, chances are having some dark sunglasses might help neutralize the effect. So it's just like maybe Daniel Craig, maybe the only way that he could deal with this was to close his eyes and he didn't want people to see it. So he kept his sunglasses on. I don't know. But the thing is, don't come running all up in my face while I'm trying to enjoy a tennis match. He did not ask for Kate to come over there, And everyone in the stadium didn't stand up because Kate walked in. Nobody wants to be bothered. So don't expect everybody to jump and stand to attention. Is this like a slow news period? Are we trying not to talk about the big woo-woo in the room?
Nobody got time for that.
Yeah, so ain't nobody got time for that. Stand at attention. Why didn't they stand up for the Princess of Wales? The only queen that Daniel Craig showed that kind of respect to is over at the George VI Chapel now. So if he chose not to stand up, then that's his business. He's not in the military. He's not a government official. Richard Eden says, surely we stand to greet the future queen. So why did Daniel Craig stay lounging? Why use the word lounging? They say lounging. Does Daniel Craig look like he's lounging or is he just sitting in the chair? Why did Daniel Craig stay lounging in his royal box with his shades on when Kate approached? Didn't I just answer that question? Did I not just answer that question? This is why he stayed seated with his sunglasses on when Kate approached. This is what people do when Kate approaches. Plus, he probably didn't want to make eye contact, not directly. Also, most people are afraid that Kate wants to talk about the early years, right? He didn't want to hear about the early years. Maybe he preferred not to hear about the early years. I mean, how much is it are we required to hear about the early years? I don't know what it is. She doesn't know what it is, and he don't know. Nobody knows what the early years is. So if you're trying to enjoy a tennis match, the last thing you want is for someone to come over there and start talking.
Obviously, it'd be. I would love to have met her, and she's obviously she's an inspirational woman to look up to. Obviously, to this day, and going forward and things. It is. It's a wonderful family. The members who I've met have achieved a lot, and very inspirational. So, yeah, I do.
Right. So, like I say, you're there at a tennis match. You don't want to hear about the early years. You really don't want this chick in your face, but there she is. So, all I could say is um, don't walk up on people. That's how you solve that problem. Stop walking up on people. I think that Kate was putting on quite a performance during this, what do you call it, Wimbledon. And I think she did it on purpose. She was playing for the cameras and she wanted to make sure that she looked as though she was this, what do you call it, this people person. I think that was the whole idea, was to portray herself as a people person and to try to look and seem as though she was actually into it all and everything. So, you know, she overplayed her hand. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm still on the blue screen. She overplayed her hand, and Daniel Craig was not interested. That's all. If he really wanted to talk to her, he would have stood up. Maybe get lost. Or maybe she said, "Can you taste the smell by smelling it?" Maybe he went over there to ask her, "Can you taste the smell by smelling it?" Maybe that's why he didn't stand up, because he thought she was going to ask that silly question again. "Can you taste the smell by smelling it?" Can you taste the smell by smelling it? Well, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why he stayed in his seat. Maybe that was the safest thing to do at that point, was to just stay seated. Can you taste the smell by smelling it? Or, as I said, this whole thing was just a big performance. Everything that went on at that in Wimbledon, you can tell when Kate is performing because she does a lot of those unnecessary hand gestures. You see what I mean? She was doing that a lot. Look at that. This is Kate asking questions about a supermarket. How much body language do you need to project to ask about a supermarket? This was way over the top. Grinning, smiling, and jazz handing. This is performative. She does this to try to look engaged. You know, it was kind of cute at first, but now it's too much. It's too much. Say what you need to say and get to stepping.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yep. Say what you got to say and get to stepping. So let me see. Yeah, I mean, Rohini, I'm sorry, that's what I was looking for. Imagine how fudgely. Well, listen, this is why I put that up there. I wanted you to see what he was seeing. I wanted you to enjoy the same effect that poor Daniel Craig had to suffer through. That's why he stayed seated, and that's why he kept his shades on, because he did not want to be subjected to all of that phony stuff. Everybody knows that all they want you to do, especially Kate, she wants you to be a part of her performance. That's what it is. She wants you to be a part of the performance. And then, of course, here comes William. And there he goes, putting his big face up in somebody else's. And then George is sitting up there looking like, I wonder why he's not standing up. Well, George, let me tell you in the most polite way I can.
Nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. That's why he's not standing up. He don't want to. He's there to see the tennis match. He's not there to try to make the Royals look good. And then, of course, Wrinklegate. I saw someone mention that earlier, Wrinklegate. How Kate Middleton fell victim to an attack of the rogue wrinkles. Are we talking about her clothes? Wait, are we talking about her clothes? I'm asking for a friend. Are we talking about her clothes? What wrinkles might we be talking about? What wrinkles? Huh? Are we talking about her clothes? Just answer that question. Even well-dressed royals dread unsightly creases when they appear in public. For all the latest royal news, pictures, and videos, click here. We want to talk about Dan Wootton, okay? I think I'm speaking for everyone involved. We want to talk about Dan Wootton. We don't want to talk about wrinkles. We want to talk about Dan Wootton. We want to talk about Dan Wootton. We ain't here to talk about no wrinkles. We want to talk about Dan Wootton. So stop trying to distract us with wrinkles. When we want to talk about wrinkles, we know where to go. Right now, we want to talk about Dan Wootton. We don't want to talk about those wrinkles. We want to talk about Dan Wootton. So stop trying to distract us with that nonsense. We know where to find wrinkles. When we want to talk about wrinkles, we know the source, right? We want to talk about Dan Wootton. When we want to talk about the penniless princess, when we want to talk about how broke the Middletons are, then we'll talk about the other stuff. Right now, we want to talk about Dan Wootton. We ain't thinking about no wrinkles. So I know there's plenty of them, with both of them. And if we want to go to the mother of all wrinkles, we know where to go. But right now, we want to talk about Dan Wootton. Boring. They are boring. They are boring. And Kate with her jazz hands trying to look important. William all up in people's face. Ain't nobody thinking about that. Let's talk about Dan Wootton. Look at that. Look at how they waste people time. Those kids are supposed to spend the day at the Victoria and Albert Museum, but instead they have to listen to Kate. They have to hear about the early years. They have to find out, can you taste the smell by smelling it? They wasn't there to figure out if you can taste the smell by smelling it. They didn't want to hear about the early years. They just wanted to enjoy an afternoon at the museum. Right? That's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to switch the subject because they know what we rather talk about. We want to talk about Dan and about Martin. Thank you so much. Okay, so Belize is taking Her Majesty the Queen off of their money. They are going to replace her image with the Right Honorable George Price and the Honorable Philip Goldson. Those are the two Belize people, Belizeans, Belizeers that they're going to put on the money. They're going to take the Queen off, and they do not want Charles. The Belize dollar bill will soon bear new images, and it will not be Charles III of the United Kingdom, the country's new head of state, following the passing of the Queen Elizabeth II. While the face of the late Queen graces the Belizean currency notes, the image, as per the government of Belize, the GOB, that's cool. For the upcoming new batch will include that of national heroes, the late Right Honorable and father of Belize's independence, George Cadell Price, and the father of democracy, the late Honorable Philip Goldson. It is our independence, sovereignty, our people stating our right as an independent nation. The Queen was on our money for way too long. This is an opportunity to do something different and show our people we have a right to self determination. Amen. I'm into that one. Not Baron calling Belizeans blisters. Well, you can tell I don't get out enough, right? So, Omen Scobie posted this earlier. I'm not sure everyone realizes what kind of outlet radar is. If you believe these sites, marriage on the rocks, nonsense, then you also believe their other royal scoops. And that, of course, would be William and Kate fighting after he failed to defend her against Harry's memoir. They have rows or bow down. Kate and Camilla heads had a blazing blowout after Elizabeth's death. Power as consort went straight to her head. Oh, all right. And Prince Andrew's ex Fergie begs for Kate to help sway King Charles' eviction order. Now, I don't believe that because Kate and Charles do not speak to each other. You never have seen them having a conversation, have you? They exchanged a few words when out on royal duty, but you never see a spontaneous conversation from them ever. About as much as you've seen her speak to the queen, which is was rare. Let's see. She expects to be heard. Queen Camilla's feud with Kate Middleton reaching a boiling point as royal wives butt heads before King Charles' coronation. Whatever. Whatever. Kate just has to buy her time. That's all. She has to buy her time, and she will be sitting on the throne very soon. So that's it for that. Let me see. And this one. Gotta have friends. Well, these are the people that found themselves in the very ominous position of being photographed with the devil. But then again, they're all alike. And with that, you guys, thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. Thank you for your very generous and kind donations to Royal Sussex. Also, Thank you to the moderators for keeping this a safe space. And very soon, I will find the last word of the day. Yes, good for Belize, right? And also, for sure, I will see you guys tomorrow. And of course, as per usual, love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Glad I could make it on a little earlier today, but not so early. But we try. We try. Oh, okay. Yeah, not so bad. All right. Let's see. Was there anything else? Oh, cookies and cream. Thank you so much for the last word of today. Oh, Elaine says, bye, everyone, wherever you are in the world. And Cookies and Cream says, everyone, please continue to pray for the Sussexes, each other, and the world. Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you so much for being here. All right. Thank you, Lisa Sykes. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Judith Reynolds. Thank you very much. All right. Well, with that, you guys, I am going to cue the Ginger Avenger. And also, good night to our queens. And I tell you, to Doria, know that we have your back. And as for you, Diana, we are never going to let them silence you, ever. You will be heard and you will be remembered for the great and wonderful mom and, of course, humanitarian that you were. So, all right. Yeah, not going to let that happen. We are not going to sweep these women under the rug. All right. Thank you, Lorna Williams says, good night, everyone. Stay safe, stay hydrated. Oh, the wish list. Yes. You know what? I'm gonna put that slide up for the wish list. I decided that I would put that up at least once a month. Now remember, no one is obliged. Wow, something welled up in my throat when I said that. No one is obliged to select anything on the wish list, but should you choose to do so, you know what? I should have put it up for Amazon days, shouldn't I? But if you choose to do so, you know, but nobody's obliged to do it. I'm just saying that, full disclosure. But if you do, it's like Christmas in July. So that's that. So thank you so much, Lydia, for the reminder. All right. All right, right. Yeah, I don't know. Something just something just welled up when I said that. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna cue the Ginger Avenger. Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow.